Bitcoin is breaking out and it looks like alts want to follow. We're going to be covering off that and everything else in this episode of Market Mastery. So thanks for tuning in. Okay, looking here at BTC at the moment, ended up forming somewhat of what you could call a ascending triangle, but a lot of people actually thought that this was a distribution range. Didn't really make sense to me that that would be a distribution range so close to the accumulation range or even inside the accumulation range. If we look at total and total two, so total just looks like it's still inside, or total two, this is all the altcoins, right? Minus total market cap minus BTC. And if we look at total here, right, it looks like, this is the preliminary support here, automatic rally selling climax. The spring was through here. This is a backup last point of supply through here. And it looks to me like we're just breaking out of that level. So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me for this to be a distribution range. The distribution range won't come until much later in the cycle, right? So, this through here was distribution and through here was distribution, right? You can almost say this area through here as well. But on BTC, it's a little bit more clearer, the high time frame distribution, but we'll take a look at that in a bit. But, even this range back here that a lot of people talk about being a distribution range, in reality, this is where Sailor bought in, right? In reality, this isn't really a distribution because okay, we had a 20% sell-off, but then, look at the result and what happened in price. Like realistically, this was a reaccumulation, okay? Actual distribution ranges, probably more of this one was more of a distribution range. So accumulation back in 2019 ran pretty hard up to 14K on Bitcoin. That's why it took us up to 350 billion. And then that was more of a distribution range, or you could almost say that this entire range through here was a distribution, and that was distributing from the people who accumulated through here. But realistically, this was just part of a much larger reaccumulation phase in the market. And I believe this is the move that we're in at the moment. We're sort of just breaking out through this area here. And I think realistically, we just put in this range through here. Right, that makes the most sense to me. And then we're breaking through, this is the 6K level through here. And that is fairly similar, in my opinion, to the 30K level, which is, represented through here. Okay, if we look at that on BTC, right, very, very similar structure. Okay, it's this 6K level through here. Right, sort of had it oscillating below, a bit of a gap. So almost similar with the gap up to the key resistance level, right? The gap up to the key resistance level through there, similar to like what we had on total as well. So, the 30K level, we're finally breaking through. So for me, yeah, this is the accumulation range through here. This is still a part of the accumulation range. This is the preliminary support. Usually you would get the rally up to that level, and we sort of did because, all the exchanges apart from Binance, because Binance closed down during this week, pretty much we came up and retested that wick, which is, part of the preliminary support range. We did sort of break out of that, but you have to sort of, say that this is still the preliminary support low, which was the top of the range high here. So for me, it didn't really make sense that we would be in a range for 276 days and then break out of that, the top of that range for a 14% pump straight into distribution, and then we roll off, especially while CZ, who's probably the biggest player in the game, or definitely is the biggest player in the crypto game at the moment, controls all the volume on his exchanges where everything's done, right? Would, inject a full clip, $1 billion into the top coins, and then, we just go to a new low after that. Didn't really make that much sense. And if we are going to roll over and see new lows or even come back to test this 20K level, that's going to come from some sort of massive upset in the stock market. At the moment, the stock market looks pretty bullish to me, to be honest. So expecting more upside here. We did have, the retest a couple weeks ago when the banking crisis sort of hit and the Federal Reserve came out and said, we're going to support all the banks, right? Since then, we've pretty much been straight up with a bit of chop through here for accumulation for the whales on Wall Street, okay? Broke out of the inverse head and shoulders, which we documented and talked about this a lot before the breakout and played that very nicely. And while this was happening, Bitcoin was just going sideways. It didn't really make that much sense to me. So in my opinion, what happened was CZ was actually holding the market down, and we saw really large sell walls on Binance and a few of the other top exchanges as well, holding down price while the stock market was running really hard, while gold was running really hard and breaking out. And crypto was sort of held down for the last, 20 or so days. How long was it? Yeah, 21 days, pretty much we've been in that range. And yeah, it just didn't want to break out until CZ finally emptied that $1 billion into the market. And then all of a sudden the sell walls disappear. And well, we start to break out of a really key resistance level. Okay. So I don't know, to me, that was sort of, a fairly obvious play, but I mean, it's always tough when you got money and emotions, and that could have been a distribution range, and maybe we do roll over and get wrecked. That's a hard thing to tell between distribution and reaccumulation, right? But in my opinion, you have a high time frame accumulation. You break out of that accumulation, more likely you're going to trend in the direction that you just broke out of for a fair while. So it doesn't make sense to go straight into distribution after a breakout of long-term accumulation for almost a year. Okay. So most likely going to be a reaccumulation, and that's what we got. And even if we did break down to 25 or something like that, I still would have, classified that as a reaccumulation range anyway. Okay. So on the stock market, what to me, this actually looks like a reaccumulation through here, okay? This is a distribution pattern over here, and we ended up rolling over and selling off a fair bit. But we have to look at this on a much higher time frame, right? And this looks to me like it's actually an accumulation range through here, okay? And there's been a lot of buying with higher lows and higher lows through here since we finally put in lower CPI prints on the 13th of October last year, okay? So what we need to see now is continued upside from the stock market. I don't want to see this level through here, which is pretty much 4,000 or 4,100, let's say, because it's a key weekly swing high. I don't want to see that close below. I want to see this just, maybe have one more swing down, bull flag out, and, break to the upside. And that will continue to allow Bitcoin to push up to its higher targets. Now, targets on BTC, right? I really want to see it close above this weekly order block here, pretty much at 30K, right? If we can get a close above that weekly order block, the next levels I'm looking for to get tagged at 36. We might have some issues at this level here at 32, but that is a pretty old level that you can't rule it out, right? There's a nice level here, a nice level here, but I think the main ones are the ones that are much closer to price, not year, almost, almost 2 years ago now, right? So price action from last year, and this side of the chart more important. So I think this band through here from 36 to 38 is, if we do get a solid close on the weekly here, is probably going to be the next push. So maybe like week 2, so week 1 closes above, then week 2 closes up here, and then week 3 closes in here. Then, we get a bit of a pullback in our next consolidation before the final breakup, which I think has the potential to, come up to test this weekly block up here at about 46 to 48, right? And that also lines up with our 0.618 Fibonacci level, okay, which is taken from the previous market cycle we came up to. So if we map out from this point here down to this point here and drag across, right, it's going to give us our 0.618 level, which is where we came up to last time. Tagged that level. It was also a key monthly level as well, okay? Right, came up and tagged that monthly, and there was a weekly order block in there also. So it makes kind of sense that we would come up to similar levels again. Did it fairly similar in the first market cycle as well. Did fairly similar price action as well in 2015. So I'm expecting potentially we end up doing something similar this cycle and push up to around this 48K area, and then chop sideways for the rest of the cycle. Right, I can show you quickly if we get my halving map out. Right, this is kind of what I'm expecting. So, I drew this before FTX broke down, right? I was expecting a sell-off, potentially into this area of a little bit lower potentially as well, but down to 14K or 11.5 was the two areas I'm looking for the bottom. Didn't really get down that low. Lots of whales kicked in and held the price up for a fair bit, but have been front running my my price a little bit, but we're pretty much on track again now, and we've caught up to my map. So the next sort of push would be up into this area here, and then we go sideways until the halving. So halving is going to be, I think it's April. Sorry, I need to bring that forward now a month. It's going to be halving is going to be around April, early April, I think, at the moment. And for that reaccumulation type range, which would be similar to this one in the last cycle. Okay, so thinking something like that, we may not get this big sell-off that we got because that was due to the COVID emergency black swan event. But maybe there is something that happens at the end of this year to do with the economy, commercial real estate or something like that crashes and a whole heap of banks go under, or there's some sort of mortgage-backed security scare, or maybe there's a war or something like that with China, and that causes a black swan event, and we end up getting a big sell-off back down to 20K or something. If we did get back down to that level, I think that would be a really strong buy. But until then, until we start losing key levels, I'm expecting upside. So the main thing at the moment need to be focused on those guys is a close above this weekly order block through here, and the close, a clean close on total. And continue. We did get a clean close on total on the daily this morning, just to continue upside on that. And also on the weekly to get over this little order block through here. Okay, so if we can get over those levels on the weekly, I'm expecting more upside, and total has a huge gap to fill in here, right? So this could get pretty explosive when that gets filled in. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm watching out for at the moment. And the other thing that's very interesting is total too getting a breakout. If this is going to break out of this level on the weekly, and also the daily is looking quite nice as well, right? That's going to coincide with Ethereum finally getting its breakout and pushing up to 20K, right? Which we've been waiting for some time. And we also have the Shanghai update coming out in the US pretty much tomorrow. Okay, so I think probably a little bit longer than 24 hours. That should be getting dropped. And that's going to enable people to be able to unstake their Ethereum. A lot of people expecting this to be quite a bearish event for Ethereum. But from what I'm seeing at the moment, the exit queues for people to come out of staking are very low. And some reports are saying there's 0 people at the moment looking to exit their staking at the moment. So you have to remember the people that put their Ethereum into staking into those validators when they knew there was no timeline established on when they would be able to withdraw it are probably the most bullish ETH maxis on the planet. So there's not going to be a whole heap of them withdrawing their ETH to dump on the market and market sell. Like, these people are massive fans of Ethereum, right? And they want to support the project as much as possible, and they probably have huge bags as well. Okay, so they're probably not pulling out en masse to dump on the market. And so I sort of believe that this could be the next bullish narrative for Ethereum, because everybody's bearish on this event, right? If it doesn't turn out to be a bearish event, it actually could lead to being a really bullish event for Ethereum. And now the other thing you have to think about also is that now that people can actually withdraw, you're going to get a lot more less Ethereum maxi people actually be like, maybe I should put some Ethereum into a staking protocol and start to earn a yield on that, especially now that I can withdraw it whenever I want to. Like for me, for example, previously, there's no way I would have put money into something that I know that I can't get it out on. There's no timeline on when it's going to come out. And the Ethereum Foundation don't really operate that fast either. So that might have taken a couple more years before you got the capital back out with the ability to sell. Like, it's completely illiquid. So now that, that has that ability, like, people like myself are starting to think about, hey, maybe I should be putting some money into that. And if I do that, I have to acquire some Ethereum. So it could end up being quite a bullish narrative for ETH. We have to wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, things are lining up pretty nicely for Ethereum here, in my opinion. And it looks like we've got like pretty much through here more of a vertical accumulation going on at the moment. Every time price comes down, we get a lot of volume start to kick in, right? There's less volume on the selling days, right, lately, and more volume on the buying days. So that's always a good sign as well. Yeah, a breakout here also could send Ethereum to a higher price target of 27.25. If it does break out this cycle and follow BTC. In the last cycle, Ethereum did not break out to follow Bitcoin when it ran, right? Bitcoin basically ran for 0.618, right? Which is about up here, about $900 for Ethereum. And it only made it to $300, right? Or $360. But you have to remember back in 2019, there was nothing happening on Ethereum. And Arthur Hayes was like fighting it like crazy, calling it a shitcoin and all this sort of stuff. And pretty much it was like, it wasn't really doing anything back then. But now Ethereum has a lot going on the platform, and you can stake it and earn the yield, and all the protocols that have been built on it over the last 4 years. So there's a lot more happening with it. So I would like to see Ethereum run all the way to 3,500 for its reaccumulation rally, and then we go sideways with BTC, have one more pullback maybe to test 2422 before the halving and bull run. Okay, that's what I'm sort of looking at the moment. Let's have a quick look at some other altcoins. Litecoin is looking really good right now. Sort of chopped sideways through here. Didn't look that great when it came under the $90 level again here, but we're pushing up $96. Going to push and test $100 soon for sure. And this could be getting ready to finally break out and run as well, in my opinion. I think the target for that, because it does have the halving coming in also, it's probably between 164 to 171. That's what I'm looking at the moment. Illuvium in this really nice tight sideways range here. Looks to be some sort of accumulation happening here right now. Volume has died off a fair bit though, which is a bit of a concern, but it's starting to pick back up here. We can see on this 4-hour candle through here, we've got a bit of a volume spike, which is the highest since we came into this range. So it might pick up after we break out, but a break of this downtrend through here could be very bullish for it to push back up to $100 and run back to the range highs. Okay, so I'm watching that one. Let's have a quick look at LDO. So LDO, basically we had the, was pretty much like a complex head and shoulders type pattern set up, right? And I talked about, if you're following me on Discord anyway, I talked about, when we were back down here, the potential to be this to end up playing as a head and shoulders failure pattern, right? And people who are shorting all through here to get wrecked. Stops will be above here and above here. So, a breakout soon, again, of this downtrend could end up leading us to pushing back to $3.30 to sweep the liquidity that's going to be above these two levels, okay? A few other altcoins that I like the look of at the moment. A Zero, not looking too bad, but probably needs to chop sideways for a little bit longer. We get a break out of this downtrend here. It could eventually run. And Sushi is one that's looking really nice at the moment as well, okay? This is more of a high time frame play, but if we go and look on the weekly time frame here, it is really nicely in its accumulation range, okay? Look at how smooth that is for an accumulation setup, and Morningstar reversal right on the range lows through here, getting ready for that to push back to the range highs, in my opinion. Okay, that's pretty much it for today, guys. We can have a quick look at the NASDAQ as well. In my opinion, nice breakout through here. Might continue to chop sideways for a little bit, but the ultimate target is up there. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show to you guys. See you all in the next episode.